Welcome to MMA Fancast. My name is Luke Payson. Welcome back for everyone who is already a subscriber to the channel. If you're not already a subscriber, please subscribe so you can see more great interviews, including the one coming at you right now. It's my honor to welcome back to the show a returning guest, a professional middleweight MMA pro fighter. I already said that, professional. Very excited to have him on the show. Jay Manning, welcome back.
That's good, man. Good to be back. Good to be back for sure.
You know, it is great. I've had you on to preview some fights for 247 as well as some fights outside of 247. You last fought for 247 Fighting Championships as an amateur. You are now a pro with a 2-1 record, which is fantastic. Congrats on that. It'll be your first time back in the 247 cage as a pro. First off, what are your thoughts on that? Returning to 247 as a pro on June 29th. Give us our thoughts just on your return.
Yeah, man. It's good to be back. I'll say that for one. So number one, it's dang sure good to be back. I remember coming in as an amateur. I kind of was trying to do a lot more, and it's good to be back as a pro. It's good to be here to be able to put on the show, and do it at a higher level, at a better level, at a more experienced level, you know?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the rounds are longer, the rules are different, but you've been there now 3 times as a pro. I believe one of your fights was for LFA up in Ontario, Canada. Am I right about that? Did you go out of the country?
No, no, no. So I had 2 LFA fights, and they were both in up in New York. It was on in Niagara Falls, but the New York side of it.
See, my brain heard Niagara Falls, the
Yeah.
New York side. Very, very cool. Cool that you didn't need your passport. I have a funny passport Canada story that I'll tell you another time, but let's
Oh, no.
just say that you can get stuck at customs for a long time. I am glad to hear that you didn't have to worry about that. What was it like fighting for LFA, a pretty well-known regional promotion?
Yeah, man. Real good promotion. They do their stuff very well. As does 24/7, as does 247. It was a good experience to be able to kind of get out of state, and be able to fight, with in a different area, and get the experience to travel, and meeting different people. And it was just good to kind of get out there and get that experience, you know what I'm saying? A lot of the guys that fight there, I've seen go on to like UFC and Bellator and different promotions. So it's good to get that look and get that opportunity.
Well, of course, that's what makes perfect sense, and I'm sure it's nice for you after getting a little bit more of the different experience being for LFA, being able to come back. You train at Indio Dojo, which is one of the more standard local Pittsburgh area gyms that's on 247 quite a bit. What's it been like training? I think now there's several pro MMA fighters or almost pro. You got Hoot Lee, who's an AMI champ through 247, is obviously at that level, or could be at that level if he goes pro, type thing. What is it like being one of the pros? I believe both of the Chase sisters are pro. What's it like training at Indio Dojo with Vilfort, with
Danilo.
goodness. What's his first? Danilo.
Mhm.
Woo! Danilo Vilfort, go for it. What's it like training at Indio Dojo?
Hey man, it's great training out of there. We got, like you said, Danilo Villafort, Mikey, Coach Mikey, and we got Iron Panda, Coach Jeff, Uncle Jeff as we call him.
Uncle Jeff.
And yeah, man, all great coaches. The team is amazing. As I'm sure you've heard, we got Hoot Lee, we got Evan, we got the Chase sisters, we got a lot of kickboxing and Muay Thai fighters coming out of there. We got Kenny, he's another pro fighter as well out of there, Ken Burrs. So we got a solid team doing a lot of things out of Indio. And it's like it's a small team, but it's got a lot of power, you know what I'm saying? It's like family for real. We all push each other. We're all there to get better. And we're all there to get some work in and make some stuff happen, man. And so far we have, man. I think the name Indio kind of attests for itself at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, it has. You guys have done some great stuff. Danilo's an incredible coach. I got the honor, I know him in real life, but I got the honor of having him on the show a couple years back. And then I don't think you were there that night, but last summer I was able to stop by Indio. I got to watch Mikey, Coach Mikey, do his Muay Thai as well as Uncle Jeff do his Muay Thai. Got to interview both of them. Know Evan DeRucci really well as DeRucci really well, as well as Hoot Lee and Ken Burrs, and I go all the way back together to knowing each other at Waynesburg University. So overall, and I had one of the two Chase sisters on the show. Brigide, I'm Bridget. That's right, Bridget. I'm hoping to have the other one on soon.
Nice.
I'm assuming you spar a lot with Ken. At one point, he was fighting at 185. I think he's going to go down to 170 potentially as a pro. But talk about, and I know it might not be your most fun thing to talk about, but talk about your frame at 185. I think you've got the Spider Silva frame for 185 in the sense of you're taller and leaner. You know, Silva might have been a couple inches shorter than you, but he was known to have pretty lean legs, we'll say, but still very, very effective. What do you think your frame is as far as pro? I think at 185 you are like higher level pro ready as far as frame goes.
Yeah, man. Put in a lot of work to kind of stay in shape, and honestly, I think it comes from a lot of the work I did younger, you know, playing football for 12 years and lifting weights at a young age and running track. And I'm not built necessarily anymore, but I've kept a lot of the muscle and a lot of the strength that I had before. And I think it kind of packs into my frame when I cut down in weight. And you know, it is good that I can bring some of the stuff from track into my fight repertoire. Like I ran hurdles and track that helped me get a lot of good flexibility, be able to get kicks up and things like that. Helped me keep a lot of athleticism over the years. I think that, I mean, body frame wise, I'm not necessarily a tall 185er, but I think I'm able to make it work with what I got, you know.
Gotcha. Well, I used to be a college track coach, so I love the track connection. I would say, in addition to, like you said, the flexibility and the kicks, for people that may not know, the hurdles, I would assume you did the 110 highs as well as the fours.
I did both,
I did
exactly.
both, right? And so on that, for people that don't know, go watch them. The Olympics are coming up. Go ahead, watch both of them. They're great. The 400 intermediate hurdles, they're a little shorter. It's considered probably the toughest track race until you get maybe to the 10K or something like that,
Mhm,
because it's an endurance race in the sense that jumping over the hurdles, but it's also still a sprint. It's that last true sprint, but you've got hurdles.
mhm,
Form tends to break down, obviously, but it's really more of a gut check. I don't find it surprising. If I had the opportunity to recruit from track, I'd probably recruit a lot of the more gutty runners. You know, the runners that have to kind of more fight for it.
mhm,
And then, of course, I could also see a 4x1er because of the explosivity, and there's so much mental. You might have run a 4x1. There's so much mental stress in getting
mhm,
the handoff, getting the stick, as it's called in track. It's probably less than a quarter of a second for the actual exchange, which
mhm,
reminds me a lot of like placements of punches. Of course, it's different, but if anybody's ever watched 4x1, it's so technical. Oh, it's so technical. And I've seen at the national level, there was I think they were either ranked one or two. This was
mhm,
Division 3, but I had a girl competing, Crystal Baker. Shout out to her. She's a great lady, great person, but she was there to compete for Waynesburg in triple jump. Anyhow, we were watching the 4x1, and I think it was the number 2 4x1 team in the nation drop the stick at nationals, which is terrible, but it does show, just like in fighting, big risks, big
mhm,
issues can come up very, very quickly. So uh because I really know that the high hurdles in track, and I know this is more track now, but I think it'll come back to MMA at some point. I know that in the high hurdles, it's all about getting a rhythm. I know it's
mhm.
about usually three stepping. I don't know if you were long enough. Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
There we go. Three stepping. What was it like mentally to transition from uh track, particularly high hurdles, where you literally count every step? I've heard runners literally, as they run past, they're trying to keep track. You know, sometimes they're mumbling to themselves. Do you think
Mhm.
that pressure and intensity having to be so dialed in, of course, the risk of tripping and all those things, do you think that really helped with the mental side of MMA where you've been winning by knockout? Like the risk reward is
Mhm.
very close together, both in 110 high hurdles where things can go really right or really wrong really quickly, as well in striking. Can make that connection, and of course, tell me if I'm wrong if you think I'm wrong.
No, there's definitely a connection there. I find the connection more when it comes to having to dig deep, especially in a fight camp or in deep training and kind of getting to that point where your body wants to give up, but you have to be there mentally and you got to be there right there in the heart, you know what I'm saying? And just finding that willpower to keep digging and to stick to your form and stick to your technique and the importance of that. I feel like that's where it really connects to me. When it comes to those distance, high intensity distance races like the 400, like the 400-meter hurdles, when you get tired, it's that's where it's the most important to start counting on your technique. That's where it's the most important to start digging it and focusing in and doing what you need to do to get the job done. So yeah, in those real deep moments in a fight, that's kind of where I go. It goes into all right, let's stay sharp, let's get it done. Let's keep the power, let's keep the intensity, and let's keep technique. And let's not let this fade because that's where you can lose or that's where you can become a champion, you know?
Makes a lot of sense. The digging
Mhm.
deep for people, go try to run a 400-meter hurdle. There's usually, or 400 open, even there's usually that spot right around 275 on the back corner. You're not in. It's right before you're to the home stretch. It's the last corner, and I've seen myself. I ran the 400, nothing like you, of course. But you tighten up. My arms would come up. I'd have to try to relax.
Mhm.
It's like, what's happening to my body? But
Mhm.
but to your point, that that digging deep, focusing mentally on making yourself still perform. I mean,
Mhm.
the arms and legs still driving, still trying. Like you said, that's where champions, pretty much every champion in the 400 anything for this Olympics is probably going to be the one that has the last good close. I mean, unless they're so far advanced. But getting back to the MMA,
Mhm.
you've had two great knockouts. What was it like getting those knockouts? Did you see them coming, or was it more like you're throwing, you're in a groove, you're in a flow, and the
Mhm.
knockout comes? Or do you have vision where you can kind of see it even before you threw it? You're like, oh, this is a big one. I know sometimes knockouts come both ways, where it's just kind of in there, or it's like, oh yeah, I really knew that was gonna be it.
Yeah, my first pro knockout, that was down in Brazil. It was actually my first fight. So did I see it coming? Not necessarily. But I was in the flow, you know. He was throwing elbows, he was throwing a lot of things and he was a very experienced striker. There's no knock on him. He was a very experienced, very good striker. But I managed to make a miss and come back with something, and I was surprised that the shot that dropped him was the one that dropped him. I'm not gonna lie, but that just kind of shows that and they say this a lot, that it's not the ones that you're trying to knock them out with that necessarily get the job done. It's the one that you just in the middle of a flow, in the middle of a perfectly or well executed or well timed technique. So that was my first one, man. It wasn't necessarily expected. It was kind of like a up jab hook right off of a slip, and it got the job done. The second one, I saw that one coming. He was getting tired. I hit him with a few knees. It was the second round, and he was trying to go for a leg lock, for ankle lock, and I just managed to maneuver into a good position where I knew I can get some heavy ground and pound on him. And I knew once I landed a couple and he started running from it that it was about time to go, and just stuck to him and made it happen. So it kind of depends on the situation. I personally don't ever try to go for the knockout as much as I try to be in a good position to land what I need to land. And generally, I'm able to have enough power, enough of wherewithal in the moment to drop somebody where I need to and make it happen.
It makes a lot of sense. You're coming in off your first loss of your career of submission loss.
Mhm.
Obviously, you train with a black belt, high level black belt as your head coach and owner of Indio Danilo. What's it like confidence wise? Obviously, everybody gets caught. This is not a knock. These are pros. Your opponent, Liam Anderson, is obviously very talented. He's now won after your fight. I mean, he's ranked high on Tapology, but recovering from that and moving forward, where you're going to be developing your jiu-jitsu. How do you think that's coming along? And mentally, how are you doing if it goes to the ground against another opponent, including the one we're coming up to talk about, Sean Brooks, in your June 29th fight?
Yeah, man. After that, I'm not gonna lie, it hit me pretty hard. I wasn't happy about it, and I mean, I guess anybody wouldn't be. The nature of the way I went out. But and I don't really have any excuses for it. I made a bad move, tried to rush back to my feet. I thought I had the advantage on the feet. And I just kind of got up the wrong way, and I gave him that. That's not to knock him. He's a great jiu-jitsu practitioner. His ground game's amazing. Like you said, he's won a few fights since then, and I think he's got a UFC chance now or something like that. But so big ups to him. He did his thing. But I've been working a lot on my ground game since then. I've been working a lot on being smarter in the way I move, and making sure I execute things properly, being more aggressive, and being able to set myself up to be in the right position, and do what I need to do in those positions. So I'm not. It doesn't bother me as much anymore. I know what happened. I know how it happened. I know why it happened. And I've improved a lot since then, in multiple ways in my ground game. So I'm just kind of excited to show that side if it comes necessary. Like you said, everyone gets caught. So um, yeah, I'm not really too focused on that aspect of it anymore. I just know I've improved and I've gotten a lot better on that since then.
Well, I appreciate that answer. I know it's never easy talking about a loss, but clearly you're doing what you need to do to recover from it. Mentally, you've trained it, you know what you did, and really that's what it comes down to. It comes down to your ability to do what you need to do now, um,
Mm-hmm.
in this fight. What are your thoughts on Sean Brooks? You got this fight for 247 against Sean Brooks. He's on a bit of a rough streak. You guys are both coming off losses. That's why I think this fight makes sense. What are your thoughts on him as a matchup?
Hey, he's a solid striker. I saw some of his, jujitsu. He looks like he knows what he's doing. I can't knock any opponent that's up here doing it at a pro level. I feel like I have the advantage in quite a few areas. And I'm excited to show that. Um, and again, that's no knock on him. It's gonna be a good fight. It's gonna be something worth watching. It's gonna be a lot of action and a lot of excitement. He's not scared to throw. I'm not scared to throw. He's not scared to go to the ground, and neither am I. So I feel like it's going to be an exciting fight to watch. And it's going to be a lot of explosion. It's going to be a lot of explosion. We're both very athletic people, and we're both willing to take it where it got to go. And so it's going to be a matter of me playing it smart and coming out on top where I need to. But I'm excited for this one. I'm excited for this one. Hmm.
I'm excited for it as a fan. I'm glad you're excited for it as a fighter, and I'm hoping to get Sean Brooks on the show to talk, kind of like I'm talking to you. Obviously, I love to get as many both sides, because I think it hypes the fight better. There's fans for both. Every fighter is going to have different fans, but from what I've seen of him on online, and obviously I know you, yeah, I think you're right. You guys are both very physically explosive guys. That tends to put on, some pretty high level fights. I'm excited for your card, the Brawl in the Burgh 22 card, is a massive card, the most pro fighters on a single card ever for 247. I think they're up to 10, maybe more, of pro fights on the card. And I think the high watermark before that, and this is very typical for regional fights, is maybe 4 pro fights on a card, sometimes less if, sometimes some fights drop down. But to be one of 10, what do you think about being on a card where obviously the main event is a UFC, a guy that's been to the UFC, a Pittsburgh legend, in
Hmm.
common with Death Star Worthy. The co-main event is a current Pittsburgh MMA, staple in Justin the General Patton, and obviously you draw the local. What do you think about being on a card with so many pros?
It's amazing, man. I'm honored to be able to be a part of a show like this, is so big. I feel like this is kind of Pittsburgh history right here, in the making. And it is going to be a lot of great fights. And I'm looking to be one of the great fights. I don't know if 247 does a bonus, but if they do, I'm trying to go for that, you know. But you know, it's gonna be it's gonna be a great night. It's gonna be a great night. We have a lot of people on the card from Indio, both the afternoon card and the evening card. As you said, we have the Chase sisters, we got me, and we got Bryce, fighting on one of the Emmy cards as well, on one of the Emmy bouts as well. So we got 3 pros and an Emmy fighting that night. It's gonna be a busy night for the team. A lot of people should be showing up. We're gonna have a lot of support. But having 10 pro fights, I hope it's a packed house, man, and I hope everybody does their thing. I hope everybody shows out, and I know I will. I know I'll be there to show out for sure.
Well, you always are. I appreciate you. I always have. It's just great following MMA in
Mhm.
Pittsburgh. It's a great time to be an MMA fan in Pittsburgh. It's a great time to be a fan of 247 because
Mhm.
they're just doing so many big things. They've got a lot of big announcements. They're doing this double header was kind of something that wasn't originally planned, and now they're making it such a successful event. So I really
Mhm.
appreciate you coming on. Can't wait to see it. June 29th. This is the time to get your tickets. If you're going to come see it in person, get them from 247fighting.com. Give Jay Manning credit. That always helps him out. Or get them from Jay Manning himself or from anybody at Indio. If you're hearing this outside of the ability to come in person, then download now the 247 Live app. It's incredible that 247 has a regional promotion, has their own app. You can get it on any app store. Completely good for smart devices. Get it on your smart TV and then buy the pay-per-view. Giving Jay Manning credit that way would be fantastic. Thanks so much for everybody watching this. This has been Luke Basin from MMA Fancast with returning guest in the show, Jay Manning. Thanks so much, bud.
All right, man. Peace. Good
You
talking to you.
got it.